What if the secret to happiness, success, and personal growth wasn't about being perfect, but about embracing imperfection? Stephen Guise's How to Be an Imperfectionist challenges the perfectionist mindset that holds so many people back, showing that true freedom and progress come from letting go of the need to be flawless. Guise argues that perfectionism creates unnecessary pressure, anxiety, and procrastination, keeping us from achieving our full potential. In this audiobook summary by AudiblePages, we'll dive into the key strategies Guise outlines for breaking free from perfectionism and learning to live as an imperfectionist. You'll learn how to take action despite your fears, how to redefine success, and how to develop habits that support progress rather than perfection. By the end of this audiobook summary, you'll have practical takeaways that will help you overcome perfectionism and start living a more fulfilling, productive life, one where imperfection is not just accepted, but celebrated. Part 1. Understanding Perfectionism, Chapter 1. The Trap of Perfectionism. Guise begins by explaining the trap of perfectionism. Perfectionists often set unrealistically high standards for themselves, believing that they must achieve perfection to be successful or worthy. This mindset leads to stress, fear of failure, and often paralysis by analysis. Perfectionism is rooted in the fear of making mistakes, but this fear keeps us from taking risks or even starting important tasks. Think about how many times you've delayed working on something because you wanted it to be perfect. The fear of not measuring up prevents progress, leaving you stuck in a cycle of procrastination and self-doubt. Start by acknowledging that perfectionism is holding you back. Recognize that no one ever achieves true perfection, and that mistakes and setbacks are part of the growth process. Begin shifting your mindset by embracing the idea that done is better than perfect. Chapter 2. Why imperfection is the key to success. In this chapter, Guise emphasizes that imperfection is the key to success. He explains that most successful people aren't perfect, they're just willing to take imperfect action. The more willing you are to act without worrying about being perfect, the more you'll accomplish. This mindset allows you to experiment, learn, and grow faster than if you're constantly waiting for the perfect moment or perfect plan. Consider how many successful entrepreneurs or artists failed numerous times before achieving success. They didn't wait for everything to be perfect. They took action, learned from their mistakes, and kept moving forward. Start taking small, imperfect actions toward your goals. Whether it's launching a project, writing a draft, or learning a new skill, focus on progress over perfection. Each small step brings you closer to your goal, and the more you practice taking imperfect action, the easier it becomes. Chapter 3. The Root Causes of Perfectionism. Guise delves into the root causes of perfectionism, identifying fear of failure, fear of judgment, and unrealistic expectations as common drivers. Perfectionists often believe that making mistakes or showing vulnerability will lead to criticism or rejection, which makes them avoid taking risks. Additionally, society often glorifies perfection, reinforcing the belief that only perfect results are acceptable. Think about how social media often portrays an idealized version of success, beauty, and life. This constant comparison can fuel perfectionism, making you feel like you're never good enough. Guise argues that overcoming perfectionism starts with recognizing these root causes and challenging the false beliefs behind them. Reflect on the root causes of your own perfectionism. Are you afraid of failing, being judged, or not meeting your high standards? Once you identify these fears, challenge them by asking yourself, what's the worst that could happen if I'm not perfect? Often, the consequences are far less severe than we imagine. Part 2. How to Overcome Perfectionism. Chapter 4. Redefine Success. One of the most important steps in overcoming perfectionism is redefining success. Perfectionists tend to define success as achieving flawless results, but this is an impossible standard. Guise suggests redefining success as taking action rather than achieving perfection. This shift in mindset helps you focus on making progress rather than striving for unattainable ideals. Think about how liberating it would be to measure success by effort and progress rather than by perfection. When you redefine success, you give yourself permission to make mistakes, learn, and grow, which ultimately leads to better outcomes. Redefine success in your own life. Instead of focusing on perfect outcomes, measure your success by the actions you take. Whether it's completing a task, learning something new, or moving forward with a project, celebrate your efforts rather than waiting for perfection. Chapter 5. Break Free from Procrastination. Guise explains that perfectionism and procrastination are often linked. Perfectionists procrastinate because they're afraid of starting something they can't do perfectly. This leads to endless delays and unfinished projects. To overcome procrastination, Guise suggests breaking tasks into small, manageable steps and focusing on completing each step rather than worrying about the end result. Consider how overwhelming a big project can feel when you're aiming for perfection. This sense of overwhelm often leads to procrastination. But by breaking the project down into small steps, you can make consistent progress without feeling the pressure to get everything right from the start. The next time you feel overwhelmed by a task, break it down into the smallest possible steps. Focus on completing just one small step at a time without worrying about perfection. This will help you overcome the inertia of procrastination and start making progress. Chapter 6. Develop an imperfectionist mindset. Guise introduces the concept of the imperfectionist mindset, which is all about embracing mistakes, failures, and imperfections as part of the learning process. Instead of seeing mistakes as failures, imperfectionists view them as opportunities to grow. This mindset shift allows you to take more risks, try new things, and ultimately achieve more than if you were stuck in a perfectionist mindset. Think of the difference between a perfectionist and an imperfectionist. While the perfectionist waits for the perfect conditions, the imperfectionist takes action, knowing that mistakes will happen but progress will be made. This mindset allows for faster learning and greater success. Start cultivating an imperfectionist mindset by celebrating your mistakes and failures. Each time you encounter a setback, remind yourself that it's an opportunity to learn and improve. The more you practice this mindset, the more comfortable you'll become with taking imperfect action. Part 3. Building Habits of Imperfection. Chapter 7. Focus on consistency over perfection. Guise stresses that consistency is more important than perfection when it comes to achieving long-term success. Rather than trying to be perfect every time, focus on showing up consistently. Whether it's exercising, working on a project, or developing a new skill, regular, consistent effort will get you much further than occasional bursts of perfection. Think about how small, consistent actions compound over time. A person who exercises consistently, even imperfectly, will achieve better results than someone who works out sporadically but tries to be perfect each time. Choose one area of your life where you want to make progress, and commit to showing up consistently, even if it's just for a few minutes a day. Focus on building the habit rather than being perfect. Over time, your consistent efforts will add up to meaningful progress. Chapter 8. Set process goals, not outcome goals. In this chapter, Guise explains the importance of setting process goals rather than outcome goals. Outcome goals focus on the end result, while process goals focus on the actions you take. Process goals are more manageable and less intimidating, making it easier to stay motivated and avoid the perfectionist trap. Consider how discouraging it can be to focus only on the outcome, especially when it feels far away. By shifting your focus to the process, you're able to celebrate small wins along the way, which keeps you motivated and moving forward. Set process goals for your current projects or personal development. Instead of focusing solely on the end result, focus on the steps you need to take regularly. For example, if you're working on a big project, set a goal to spend 30 minutes on it each day rather than worrying about the final outcome. Chapter 9. Embrace imperfect progress. Guise concludes by encouraging us to embrace imperfect progress. Progress doesn't have to be flawless to be meaningful. In fact, imperfect progress is often the most sustainable because it allows you to keep moving forward without the pressure of perfection. Over time, imperfect progress leads to major breakthroughs and lasting success. Think about how much more you could achieve if you stopped waiting for the perfect conditions and started embracing imperfect progress. Each small step forward, no matter how imperfect, brings you closer to your goals. Start celebrating your progress, no matter how imperfect it may seem. Focus on what you've accomplished rather than what still needs to be done. By embracing imperfect progress, you'll stay motivated and avoid the perfectionist trap of feeling like nothing is ever good enough. Practical advice and wrap-up. Stephen Guise's How to Be an Imperfectionist offers a powerful message about the dangers of perfectionism and the freedom that comes from embracing imperfection. By shifting your focus from perfection to progress, you can break free from procrastination, take action more confidently, and achieve success on your own terms. Start by applying one or two of the key strategies from this book today. Whether it's taking imperfect action, setting process goals, or celebrating your progress, these small shifts will lead to big changes in how you approach your life and work. Are you ready to embrace imperfection and start living a more fulfilling, productive life? Begin today by letting go of perfection and taking action, one imperfect step at a time.